Hello, and welcome back to another episode of 25 Years by me, Ryan Bostock. These tales are all true and have happened to me, so I do hope they provide some benefit to you. Today's tale, episode 8, is about mental health. In particular, it's my 5 takeaways from the mental health first aider course I've just completed. So over the past week, I've had daily mental health sessions which cover topics such as anxiety, depression, suicide, and much more. However, after completing the course, there's 5 aspects that I want to talk about. Or 5 takeaways, should we say. So the 5 are, starting with number 1. So we talk about the mental health first aider action plan, and the acronym is ALGEE. So A is for approach, assist and assess. L is for listen and communicate non-judgmentally. G is for give support and information. E is to encourage professional help, such as going to your GP or looking for therapy. Finally is to encourage other supports, such as peer groups. So if you are a recovering alcoholic, going to the recovering alcoholic peer group that you may have contact with. And I found that action plan fascinating because you can use it for any situation. So when you initially see something happening, which may be someone who's got schizophrenia, so when you going into that situation, you need to approach it to make sure you're safe and they're also safe. So it's recognizing that, but also when you're communicating with them, being no judgment, being understanding. Let them know that you are listening to them, you can hear them. Ensure that your body language isn't, let them stand up, you sit down. Just really understand and recognise that you're there present and you're there to help, and you can understand them from their point of view, emotional support. And then you continue on going through the action plan, and I thought that was just one I think I've got to share, because I think you can use that in your daily life. If you're just looking at a situation that may arise, right, let's go through it, ALGEE, how I can implement that into my day-to-day life, or a scenario may come across and that may be beneficial to you. Number 2, the definition of mental health, because it's a phrase that's been put out in the media quite a lot, and there's very polarizing views on mental health. But as they defined it, the training was the spiritual and emotional resistance to enjoy life and survive pain and sadness and disappointment. And I thought, wow, that's a fascinating definition. I didn't realise it. For me, I didn't even think about spirituality, looking within. I mean, I thought about looking within in the sense that just being self-aware, but really getting to know oneself. And that was recognised in that definition of mental health. And I thought, when you actually then start to really learn and study about mental health, and you really become more aware of that emotional and spiritual connection. And it's when they talk about the word resilience, the resilience to enjoy life and survive pain, sadness and disappointment. I was like, wow, it's so true, because when you're enjoying life, are you getting really, really big highs, and when you're having pain, are you getting really big lows? And that is the spectrum of how sometimes people talk about their mental health. So that definition for me, I just thought, wow, it really does embody mental health to me. And then going on from that, And maybe the biggest one for me, number 3, is using the phrase at least. I was like, what do you mean? Like, I use at least all the time. And I even sent a text this morning after recognising it. I was like, damn, I used at least. But yeah, using the phrase at least is trying to minimise the problem. So what I found myself to say is, if someone's telling me their problems, I'm like, but at least you've got a job to go to, or at least it's sunny outside. You're trying to move their disappointment or minimise the disappointment. Actually, by acknowledging you've heard them and you understand the challenge they're going through, will provide more benefit than trying to minimise it. So just think about that next time you use the phrase at least. Do you do it? I know I do a lot. So that is what I've definitely taken away with and going to really be aware of when I use that phrase. And then number 4, I think we all do it. Maybe that's a bit generic, but I always go, hey, how are you doing? Or, hey, are you okay? Or, hello, how are you feeling today? And it's more of being polite rather than asking, are you okay? And that was recognised in the mental health first aider training, whereas instead of saying, are you okay, actually ask a second time in a different way. So if you say, are you okay? And later on I'll go, how are you feeling today? And by asking that second time, that person's actually now aware that you actually want to know how they feel. You actually care about how they're feeling. So they may then tell you, yeah, I am actually feeling really low, or I am having some really sad days or lonely days. They'll really connect with you on the level because you've actually taken that time to ask again. You're not only just being polite the first time, but you actually want to know how are they actually doing. And then finally was a technique used for situations such as panic attacks, so crisis situations, and it's called 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So what it is 5 things you can see, 4 things you can touch, 3 things that you can hear, 2 that you can feel, and 1 that you can taste. And so if someone's having a panic attack, ask them questions to run through the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. But what I also thought was, what a remarkable technique that you could use not only in crisis situations but for day-to-day living. So when I'm frustrated or angry or I've had a really bad day at work, what about, let's try and centre myself now. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now you could do that on your own, but you could also do that with your friends. If your friend comes to you and you can see they're really agitated and uptight or something's on their mind, just before you start the conversation, out of the blue, say to them, what are the 5 things you can see, 4 things you can hear, 3 things you can smell, 2 things you can touch, and 1 you can taste. And you'll take them off guard, but that will then really get them start to think about their senses. They'll then become more aware of their body, how they're feeling, and maybe that will calm them down, center them. Try it yourself, see how you feel by doing that. That's the 5 things I've taken away from my mental first aider training. I really did enjoy the course. I would recommend it to anyone who can do it. So that is episode 8 on mental health by me, Ryan Bostock. Thank you very much for listening or watching, or even both. Thank you.